British Airways Business Class is one of the best ranked business classes in the sky, but what is it actually like? Well, today I'm going to fly their Flagship Club Suites in order to answer that very question.
It's finally time to fly in British Airways Club World for the second time, and this time on a single-decker aircraft, a 777-300ER. And so far it's been an absolute disaster trying to check in, but I did manage to get my boarding pass. So I think it's now time to head inside the airport to check in properly and send my bags.
Making my way into the airport, I found it very hard to find the correct check-in desks, but I eventually found it.
So since I'm here over 4 hours before my plane departing, the check-in desks aren't even open yet. They open in about half an hour, and then we'll be finally able to go through TSA, passport control probably, and then head off to the lounge. Alright, finally checked in now, and time to head through TSA.
And luckily, TSA was super fast and I got through with no issues.
I'll be honest, for being a major airport, LAX security is pretty well handled at Terminal B. This is a Sunday though, and I think it was quieter than it usually is because I think LAX is a pretty busy airport and security is always crazy here, but it was actually pretty chill. And now it's time to head to the lounge.
After being led on a wild goose chase around LAX by multiple factors, I eventually found the Qantas lounge. Making my way inside, this lounge was super big, but a massive lounge, there should be good food, right? Well, this was the only cold food they had, but as for hot food, there were only a few options, and there were barely any snacks whatsoever, and considering I had to spend 3 hours in this lounge, this was quite terrible.
Now I'll be honest, but that is the worst airline branded lounge I've ever been in, and considering that's a Qantas lounge, it's very disappointing because I've been to the Qantas lounge, the domestic one for that matter, in Melbourne, and I have seriously, this was much worse than the one in Melbourne. And I have to give it a solid 5 out of 10. It was actually the worst airline branded lounge I've ever been to. And now it's time to go and find the gate.
So after the first class passengers all got on board, I got into line and got my face scanned. No boarding pass or passport check, just this face scanner, and made my way down the jet bridge.
Hello, good afternoon.
Welcome. Where are you sat?
15 Alpha.
That's right, just continue down here.
Alright, thank you.
So I made my way through the cabin and to my seat.
And welcome on board this British Airways 777 Club Suites. And to my seat, 15 Alpha. Honestly, this seat is really nice. It's a huge step up from the A380, which has the worst configuration I've ever seen on a flight. Now we'll skip the point to the A380 having a lot more storage on the 777. But this, for an older aircraft, it's definitely not bad. Well, I need to tell you how much storage is in this seat, because it's quite a lot.
First up, you have this locker here, which has a mirror in case you need to do makeup, an amenity kit, and a bottle of water. Next, you have this storage compartment where I put my phone, headphones, and an action camera. And then the final one is the biggest of them all. This one's pretty deep, which houses the entertainment remote, the headphones.
But now let's talk about the comfort of the seat. It's actually really comfortable, and it definitely should be, as this is a business class. And there's tons of leg room as well, but the footwell looks a tiny bit cramped. Once we lay this flat and try and sleep in it, I'll give you a verdict on that. But I think we should explore the seat a little bit more. Well, we have the entertainment screen to check out once we get into the sky. We have a screen to control everything. We have so much more to check out. So I'm going to do that right now.
Just beside my shoulder, I had this pop-out light. And below the seat, there was another storage compartment, though it wasn't too deep. And next to it, there was the safety card, and we're definitely going to need this as it's a Boeing. But then I got my pre-departure beverage.
The orange juice is alright, right? Better than the A380 flight, right? Better than any orange juice I've had in the US over the last 2 weeks, so I'll give it maybe a 7 out of 10.
And in my seat, I had 2 windows.
Alright, I was just given the food menu and we'll check that out in the air.
And that was going to be very soon, as in a British Airways miracle, we pushed back from the gate 5 minutes early. For today's flight, I'll be flying 9 hours and 40 minutes from Los Angeles to London Heathrow. And after reaching the runway, it was time for takeoff.
Okay, now that I'm in the air, I can reveal one of the first surprises, and that is the door. Yeah, I've ever flown that actually has a door. But anyway, the meal service is about to begin, so let's check out the food.
And shortly after saying that, they passed around hot towels to everyone, and I think it was time to check out the
Amenity kit. So in here there are an eye mask, slippers, earplugs, an advertisement for the white company. There is oil for your pulse points, lip balm, moisturizer, and last but not least, a dental kit which comes with a toothpaste and toothbrush. Yes, I have. To drink, I'll just have a Sprite to start off with, please.
And for your starter?
Could I have the roast beef, please? And then for the main, I'll have the braised lamb, please.
And I'll come take your dessert later.
Alright, perfect. Thank you so much.
And now that the crew have my meal orders, I decided to check out the headphones because obviously I want to watch something while I eat. These headphones were really high quality, they were over ear and noise cancelling. And to plug in your headphones, there was a port inside of the biggest storage compartment. And now of course I decided to check out the entertainment selection. To start things off, this was a huge touchscreen TV which was amazing. And on top of that, they had plenty of movies to watch. Next, I had a look at TV which had plenty of Paramount Plus, comedy shows and more, including Friends. And luckily they had my favourite view of the in-flight map. And now here came my beef starter, and now my lamb came out, and honestly the lamb was pretty good, but I can absolutely not identify the yellow square in the corner. But then how does this classify as a dessert in business class? And now the sun set after the meal service, so I decided to get some sleep. To later seat flight, you can either use the physical buttons or this touchscreen. So now I decided to check out the lavatory. Unfortunately, these lavatories suffer from the exact same issues as the 787. They're an absolute shoebox, but at least they had a decent headroom. After reclining my seat into a bed, I realized a mini party was thrown in between seat cushions, and thankfully here was all the bedding.
Okay, here is the bed. There is some decent space in the foot cubby as well, but it's a little wider than the A380, which is good. And because there's a door, I have complete privacy, and even if there wasn't this here, I still wouldn't be able to see anyone, big thanks to this. But yeah, let's grab some sleep now, and I'll see you in a few hours. Alright, now that I'm all done with my rest, I think I'd share some thoughts on it, because I'll be completely honest, but that rest was not very good at all. Well, it felt more like I rested my eyes for the last 4 hours rather than actually sleeping, and to make matters worse, it's completely dark outside, and we landed about 10 o'clock in the morning, so I'm going to be completely dead this entire day. But now there's only 5 hours and 11 minutes left to this flight, and there should be a pre-landing meal that'll start, but it'll start in about 3 hours from now. And I ordered a Sprite, and also came with some shortbread, which was really nice. So there's only a few hours left to this flight now, so I'm going to enjoy the rest of it while I still can.
And now the sun began rising as we flew over the Atlantic Ocean. And with an hour and 45 minutes remaining, our pre-arrival meal came out.
And so I picked the full English breakfast, but LA catering is certainly not as good as London catering for this breakfast. Now that the meal was done, I decided to head back to the shoebox to brush my teeth.
We're only 40 minutes away from landing. I think I'll go ahead and share my final thoughts. Now, right off the bat, the club suites are pretty good, though there's some things that could be improved. For example, the door is far too stiff. I have to use 2 hands and force it to pull open and close. But let's talk about the ground experience. Obviously, since I came 4 hours before the flight, it's understandable that the check-in desks were not even open because it was too early and they have other flights that they need to get out before ours. And once we get to the desks, it was all fine, and the assistance was amazing, and overall it was pretty good customer service. Lounge, honestly, for being a Qantas lounge, it was really disappointing, considering I've been to the Qantas domestic lounge in Melbourne like many times and I've reviewed it once, but when I used to live in Australia for 7 years, I used to use the Qantas lounge, that domestic lounge in Melbourne, every single time I flew, and that lounge was far, far worse than that lounge, and I will say that, and I'll say it again, but that's the worst airline branded lounge I have ever been in. But now let's talk about the flight. Cabin crew are friendly and very accommodating and helpful, trying to fix everything for me. Need a constant drink service. I will say I wish British Airways did have some more substantial snacks rather than like popcorn and 2 shortbread cookies. But let's talk about the amenity kit. Now, an amenity kit in business class should have slippers, but for some reason that British Airways fails to offer that. And also, this was an overnight flight, and just like Japan Airlines on their overnight flight in business class, British Airways failed to offer pajamas as well, which I found a bit interesting. Now let's talk about the storage in the seats, because storage is quite important for me because I need to dump all this camera equipment somewhere. And I will say there are 3 compartments, and for that, one's pretty deep, one's alright, but one's very, very shallow, which is that one right here. Here, it's only capable of holding maybe the amenity kit, a bottle of water, and the menu slipped in the back. The one here is pretty shallow, but it's good for like your phone, your wallet, maybe your passport, or a small camera. And then the big one is where you keep bigger stuff like your headphones, that can fit a massive box in there, and there's definitely less storage space than the A380 on the upper deck, because if you remember, the A380 had huge bins and very, very deep bins by the window. Now let's talk about the entertainment screen, because that's one of the most important things on a long haul flight. The entertainment screen is large, it's very crisp, it's quite responsive. It's not the most responsive screen I've ever used, and there is a great amount of shows. There are shows on pretty much everything. There's tennis documentaries, there's The Big Bang, Friends, I'm pretty sure The Office is on there as well, and overall it's very, very good. Now the seat recline. Honestly, the seat reclines really nice into a bed, but once it's in a bed, it is not my kind of preference, because I find it very hard to sleep in this Club World bed, because it's just not comfortable. And then you have the base sheet. Just do yourself a favor and don't use it, because it's pretty much useless. But the duvet is nice and warm, which is very nice. So now, do I think British Airways Club World is actually good on this 777? And I will say the LA to Heathrow route used to be served on the A350 when I booked this a year ago. But about, I think in March of this year, they stopped running the A350s on the LA route and put it on to these older 777s, and I would have much rather reviewed a brand new A350 than this 12-year-old 777. But anyway, there's about 50 minutes left of this flight, so I'm going to enjoy the rest of the flight while I still can, because next time I fly, I'll be flying on the worst airline in Portugal.
And now, we finally began our descent into London Heathrow, and at last came in for landing.